Hey, welcome. My name is Richard Mulholland. I'm the founder and chief evangelist of Missing Link. We're a presentation powerhouse. And each week on our Lead Loud series of videos, we try and answer a burning question for you. That could be to do with presenting, public speaking, or even entrepreneurship. Now, this week, I want to address a question I get asked a lot. And to be honest with you, it's a wee bit awkward. And that question is, what books can I read to become a better presenter? And that's what we're going to address right now. So I said this was awkward. And to be honest, it is a little bit awkward. And I'll tell you why. Because when people ask me, what book do you want to read to learn about, being a presenter or a public speaker? I almost want to ask them, you mean other than my own, other than the actual book I wrote on that very topic? It's called Boredom Stare. You can get it at boredomstare.com or Amazon or whatever. Let me know. And if you have read it, please be sure to leave a rating somewhere. That would be wonderful. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, because we want to go a bit deeper. I don't want to just talk about traditional presentation books. That would be the easy answer. Read this, buy this, or this. And I think we need to look further anytime we want to get deep in our craft. Years ago, I was lucky enough to speak with Malcolm Gladwell at the BCX Disrupt Summit. Sorry, did I hurt you there when I dropped that name? And Gladwell's done a number of amazing things. He's done a class on masterclass. And in that masterclass, he says, when he's asked to do his research on his topics and things like this, he gives a warning. He says, you've got to look past the first page on Google. And I guess that goes further. It's like, if you want to learn how to do one thing, if you just read the books on that topic, you're going to get quite a shallow point of view on it. If you want to master the craft, you got to try and find unexpected books and different things. So you don't want to read the traditional presentation books to just learn how to present. And by all means, do those as a foundation. Serving suggestion, boredom stare. But I want to talk today about unexpected books. I want to share with you 3 books that you may not have thought of as a presentation book. I don't know, maybe you have. In fact, hey, let's run a competition. Let me know in the comments if you can guess. Don't go ahead, press pause now. If you can guess any of the 3 or all of the 3 books that I'm going to recommend to you before you watch any further. Let's see if you got it right. No cheating, no peeking. Go. All right, so we're back here. Okay, cool. So I want to share with you these 3 books, and they're books that will all help your presentation, communication game in a different way. I'm trying not to sneeze. It's really, really difficult. It's like right there. Anyway, so let's go through it. The first book is this. It's called The Microscope Rules. It's by a guy called Bill Schley. Now, there's a story behind this book. I was doing a talk in Texas. I was sitting there. I was presenting. It was quite a good gig. At the end of it, this guy walks up to me. He's smiling. He says to me, hey, man, I just got to say to you, you speak in the language of the book that I wrote. I was like, tell me about it. He said, no, it's a book called The Microscope Rules. And it's about speaking these small little phrases that have been these word packages that have been parceled together to make it easy for other people to remember. And I bought his book, and it's amazing. If you're in marketing, you want to read this one. But if you're a presenter, the best thing about it is when you realize, and I think I've intuitively understood this, but he gave me a framework for thinking about it, that when you can make sentences sound like they've been better constructed, the authority of the sentence goes higher, and actually its likelihood to be remembered, because what rhymes is remembered. Now, what rhymes is remembered is one of the microscopes I teach in our Story to Stage public speaking program. Because again, it sounds like, it sounds like it's so well constructed, it must be something official. I might say to people, you either get paid for your talk or you get paid from your talk. That's got that nice feeling of a microscript. You only speak for free if you only speak for a fee. And then, I talk about these kind of things. So I use them all the time, and they just make more authority of the phrases I use. So definitely one I'd love to suggest you checking out. Really, really great book. Cool. That brings me to the second one. And the second one is called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. This book's an unfair advantage. This is a book that honestly, I was loath to share with people for so long because it is so good. And the kind of subtext is why some ideas survive and others die. But actually, these ideas, as delivered by a presenter or a marketer or a communicator, they all follow the same rules. And they give you a number of frameworks to talk about schemas and different things like this. But one of my favorites is an acronym they have in the book called SUCCESS. And they talk about, what do ideas need to be in order to thrive. And this is a SUCCESS acronym. And it says they must be simple, they must be unexpected, they must be concrete, there must be something there, they must be credible, there should be data behind it, they must be emotional, they got to touch you here, And there must be stories. They've got to be packaged in a way that people remember. And it is brilliant when they give you all of these like cool little things, just ways of remembering this, and they back it all up. And it's just such an enjoyable book to read. In fact, it taught us about the Hollywood pitch. So if I said to you, Braveheart in ancient Rome, what movie am I pitching you? And of course, you would have probably thought something like Gladiator, and that would be how that movie would have been pitched to a Hollywood executive. They understand there's so much detail in there. What kind of budget it would be? Is it a one star? Is it an ensemble? What is it? And you get so much in that, Die Hard on a bus. And we have stolen that from them, from their book, and we use it in our presentation training all the time in our Boredom Slayer series. And in fact, while I'm on that topic, we have just opened up another series of our Boredom Slayer in-person, online, but live open groups. That means instead of you just booking for banks of 10 people at times, we actually have some seats for single people who just want to go in and learn our methodology and present better. So if you're keen on that, leave a comment below or send a mail to info@msnglnk.com and we'll get back to you. Anyway, speaking of stealing their content for our training, though, that leads into the next book, the next unexpected gem. My wife bought me this book, and to be honest with you, this is one of my all-time favorite books I've ever read. It's by a guy called Austin Kleon, and it is called Steal Like an Artist. This book took me by surprise. I wasn't sure. I don't know if any of you have read it, but it was incredible. It's just such a light-looking, like one of these books that feels like it's a casual book you might see in a waiting room somewhere, made by a creative. It is so jam-packed full of value. It's such a great book. I absolutely loved it. But it's the idea that everything is a remix. Picasso, great artists steal. Like, this is the thing. I love that idea. Art is theft. And that's what we have to do. In fact, that story I said earlier about Malcolm Gladwell, I never watched that masterclass. My friend Nick Carolambus used that story in his talk, but I've just stolen it for here because that's what we do. We steal, we remix, we use it, we bring stuff together again. There are no more original ideas. It's just the packaging of those ideas, how you put them together and how you present them. And the reason this is so important for speakers to realize this is that the number one problem I have with people who want to be public speakers is they feel that they don't have the credibility yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I started my career for the first 10 gigs at least. I was presenting Seth Godin's Purple Cow. That was it. I was out there presenting on his book, Purple Cow. I'd invited him to speak in South Africa. He said, he doesn't want to. He's got a young family. He doesn't want to travel that far. I said, can I do a talk in the book? I'll buy signed copies of your book instead and give them to people. And he was like, absolutely. Give me his blessing. I started my speaking career presenting somebody else's content. I stole like an artist. And so should you, right? You've got to learn to remix content, to look at something and say, how do I frame what I just learned and build talks and presentations around that? Everybody has the right to take to the stage. Some of you have just not done it. Right? Nobody has any secret ingredient. Everybody on stage isn't a doctor. They're not all professors in their field. They're just somebody who had something to say. And you probably have something to say, so you should say it. So those are the 3 books I wanted to share with you. I have a couple of honorable mentions. And the reason they're honorable mentions is that they're kind of more expected, but they're also just really, really worthwhile and they're books that influenced me. The first one is called You Are the Message, and it's by Roger Ailes. Now, Roger Ailes has been in a little bit of a scandal of late and things like this. You decide if you want to read this or not. I listened to the tapes back when I started Missing Link. I feel like in the early 90s, in the early 2000s, but the tapes were phenomenal and that really changed my perspective on public speaking and presenting. It's very, very worthwhile. Excellent, excellent, excellent book, and I highly recommend it. And then the other one, you have to go even further back for that. That was written in 1930s, I think, 36. And that's Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. You may not have read this because, Cult of the New and things like this, but I promise you it is a classic for a reason because it is just that good. So if you haven't read that yet, whether you want to be a presenter or not, this book really, it does what it says on the cover. You got to go in and look into this thing. I'm not sure if I missed any books. If I have, please let me know down below. Feel free to recommend any more in the comments. And again, I do want to hear all these new, latest, greatest books, but sometimes we forget that some of the classics are principle-based and still brilliant. In fact, I recently found another podcast called Backlisted, and it's basically podcast about book reviews of books, old books that are amazing that we've forgotten. Because again, we're also cult of the new, that we've got to have the latest and greatest and read the bestseller in the front page of the bookshop. Often you don't. Often the classics are there and they're classic for a reason. So I hope you have found that valuable. If you did, hit like. If you really, really enjoyed it, hit subscribe. If you have missed any books that you think would help me or help anybody else, please, please, please leave them in the comments. And even if it's your own book and you want to give a bit of a punt of that, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. That's it from me. Until next time, go out there and lead loud. Peace.